It was supposed to be easy, a short campaign, a show of force, just another act in the empire's grand playbook. In 1839, the mighty British Empire set its sights on Afghanistan. They weren't after land or gold, but influence. You see, the British feared the Russians were sneaking southward, threatening their prized possession, India. And Afghanistan? That was the chessboard where the great game would be played. Welcome to What Happened, where we unravel the greatest moments in history, one country at a time. And for our 18th chapter, we are exploring the First Anglo-Afghan War. So, they marched in. Over 20,000 troops, British and Indian, stormed the mountain passes. Their mission? Overthrow the sitting Afghan ruler, Das Muhammad Khan, and replace him with a more agreeable puppet, Shah Shuja Durrani. And at first, it worked. Kabul fell without much of a fight. British officers celebrated in lavish compounds. They sent back letters describing the picturesque scenery, the mild resistance, the obedient Afghans. They thought they had won, but they didn't understand Afghanistan. They didn't understand its tribal code, its history of resistance, its hatred for foreign rule. Beneath the calm surface, resentment festered. Shah Shuja wasn't seen as a king. He was a traitor, a British stooge. And the invaders? They were infidels on sacred soil. By late 1841, that resentment exploded. A full-scale uprising gripped Kabul. British forces were ambushed in the alleys. Supplies were stolen. Outposts burned. Their Afghan allies, paid off with British gold, began switching sides. The British command, led by the indecisive and ailing General William Elphinstone, was completely paralyzed. Trapped in Kabul, surrounded by mountains, hated by the locals. And winter was coming. Then came the decision that sealed their fate, a retreat. In January 1842, the British began a desperate withdrawal from Kabul. Over 16,000 men, women, children, soldiers, and camp followers marched into the snow-covered passes of the Hindu Kush. And the Afghans were waiting. They struck from the cliffs, from behind rocks, from the blizzards. Gunshots echoed in the snow. Screams vanished into the wind. Bodies lined the path, frozen in the ice. One by one, the retreating column was wiped out. Hunger, frostbite, skirmishes. It was death by 1,000 cuts. By the end of the march, there were no regiments, no companies, no orders, just stragglers. Broken, bleeding, dying. And then, out of the blizzard, a lone figure approached the gates of Jalalabad. A man on a collapsing horse, bloodied and barely alive. Dr. William Britton. When the British guards saw him, they shouted, "Where is the army?" He replied, "I am the army." Of the 16,000 who left Kabul, he was the only one to arrive. The First Anglo-Afghan War became one of the greatest military disasters in British history. A chilling reminder of the unforgiving Afghan terrain and the spirit of a people who would never bow. The British would return later to exact revenge, but the scars of 1842 never faded. And Afghanistan? It earned a new name in the imperial world, the graveyard of empires. Because no matter how mighty the invader, how advanced the weapons, how strategic the plans, Afghanistan always buries arrogance in its mountains. Empires rise, empires fall, but in the snowy passes of Kabul, history remembers who didn't make it home. Like, comment, and subscribe for more forgotten stories from the shadows of history.